General Vex of the Galactic Coalition stood before the assembled War Council, his forearms clasped behind his towering frame. The chitinous plates along his spine rippled with an emotion his species rarely displayed: uncertainty. Around the crystalline table sat representatives from a dozen worlds, all waiting for his assessment of the human conflict that had consumed 3 solar cycles. "Honored Council," Vex began, his voice carrying through the chamber's translation matrix. "I must report that our understanding of human warfare capabilities was fundamentally flawed." The tribunal leader, a gaseous being from the outer rim, pulsed with impatience. "Explain your failure, General. The humans were supposed to capitulate within 1 rotation." Vex's mandibles clicked, a sign of deep contemplation among his kind. "The humans do not fight as we fight. They do not calculate odds and surrender when defeat becomes mathematically inevitable. They fight beyond reason, beyond logic, beyond any tactical doctrine we have encountered in our 1,000-year expansion." Across the galaxy, he activated the holographic display, showing the shattered remains of what had once been the fortress world of Kepler Prime. The assembled council members shifted uncomfortably as the images of devastation filled the chamber. "This was our most fortified position in the Terran sector," Vex continued. 60,000 of our finest warriors protected by energy shields that could withstand planetary bombardment, supplied for a siege lasting 10 cycles. The humans took it in 14 days. Murmur of disbelief rippled through the council. The amphibious delegate from Aquarius Beta spoke first. "Impossible. Our intelligence suggested they possessed only primitive kinetic weapons and chemical propellants." "That intelligence was correct," Vex replied grimly. "But we failed to account for their capacity for innovation under pressure. When their conventional weapons proved insufficient, they began modifying mining equipment into siege engines. When their supply lines were cut, they consumed the native vegetation to sustain themselves. When their communications were jammed, they developed hand signals sophisticated enough to coordinate battalion-level operations." The general paused, his secondary eyes focusing on the tactical readouts. "But these adaptations pale in comparison to their psychological warfare capabilities. The humans understand something we have forgotten in our civilized expansion: that war is not merely about superior technology or numerical advantage. It is about the willingness to endure suffering for a cause greater than individual survival." He gestured to another hologram, this one showing the aftermath of the Battle of New Geneva. "Here, a human unit of 200 soldiers held a strategic mountain pass against 3,000 of our troops for 6 days. They had no hope of victory, no possibility of rescue, yet they never considered surrender. When we finally overran their position, we found they had used their own bodies to construct defensive barriers." The silence in the chamber was profound. Several council members had witnessed the rise and fall of numerous species, but none had encountered such dedication to warfare. "Their commanders display a tactical flexibility that borders on precognition," Vex continued. "During the siege of Luna Station, their Admiral Ross anticipated our flanking maneuver and repositioned his fleet 12 hours before we initiated the attack. When questioned during his interrogation, he claimed he recognized the pattern from studying our previous engagements. He had identified weaknesses in our strategy that our own tactical computers had deemed irrelevant." The tribunal leader's form darkened. "You speak as if these humans have already achieved victory." "They have not," Vex replied carefully. "But neither have we. Every world we claim costs us exponentially more resources than projected. The humans have mastered what they call guerrilla warfare, striking from unexpected angles, disappearing into civilian populations, turning our own infrastructure against us. On the mining world of Titan 7, they convinced the automated systems to recognize our forces as hostile intruders. We were forced to destroy our own supply depot to prevent it from producing ammunition for human resistance fighters." The general's voice grew quieter, more reflective. "I have studied warfare for 2 centuries, participated in the conquest of 47 star systems. In every previous conflict, there came a moment when the enemy leadership recognized the futility of continued resistance and negotiated surrender. The humans possess no such moment. Each defeat only strengthens their resolve. He displayed a final image, a human soldier wounded and alone continuing to maintain a communication relay despite being surrounded by coalition forces. This individual, Lieutenant Anderson, had been cut off from his unit for 18 days. He had no food, limited water, and injuries that would have incapacitated most species. Yet he continued transmitting intelligence to human forces, enabling them to avoid our ambush at the Meridian Bridge. When we finally captured him, he smiled and said his mission was complete. The council sat in stunned silence. Warfare among civilized species followed established protocols. Surrender when further resistance became pointless. Negotiate terms that preserved some dignity. Integrate conquered populations through incentives rather than force. The humans appeared to operate under entirely different principles. "What do you recommend, General?" the tribunal leader finally asked. Vex's forearms spread wide in a gesture of profound uncertainty. "I recommend we study these humans more carefully before committing additional resources. They possess something we may have lost in our pursuit of galactic dominance, an understanding that some things are worth any sacrifice to preserve. We must decide whether conquering such a species is worth the cost it will demand of us." The chamber fell silent as the implications settled over the Iowa assembled representatives. For the first time in their expansion across the stars, the Galactic Coalition faced an enemy that fought not for tactical advantage or territorial gain, but for principles they valued more than life itself. General Vex dismissed the holographic displays and stood at attention, waiting for the Council's decision, knowing that whatever they chose would reshape their understanding of warfare forever.